People often call us on our bias, which we are overt with, but we say, what's that saying? We walk and eat gum or something like that. I don't know, I can't remember it. Chew gum. And we say when something is worthy of being applauded, we applaud it. Here's something that I support the national government doing. Let's have a listen.
Minister Christopher Luxon says he'll look at changing the tax-exempt status of churches this term, adding he's open to suggestions they should pay up.
But those comments today drew the ire of church leaders, including Destiny's Brian Tamaki, who says the current settings reflect the good they do in
Funny, Tamaki raises his head when he thinks about having less money in his pocket.
the community. Nick Trubridge has the story.
Some say it's an ungodly law, churches going tax and rates free when Joe Public pays up. But that could change.
Do you think churches should have to pay tax and rates?
Look, I'm actually quite open to that consideration of actually thinking through the broader dimension of our charitable taxation regimes and making sure that that's relevant.
Under New Zealand law, churches are exempt from paying tax, but Christopher Luxon's left the door open for changes.
Yeah, we'll certainly be looking at things like that this term, yep.
It's not a priority.
But for right here, right now, not a focus for us.
But it sure has provoked a response from the country's Christian churches.
Can I say a couple of things? First of all, not to get up. It's not that churches pay no tax, because if churches have employees, they pay PAYE. And the other thing is, any kind of charity, churches included, aren't allowed to run at a profit. So their money goes back into something. So look, I'm on board. I think churches should pay rates. I think they should pay taxes. I don't think people should get back the money from the government that they give to a charity. I'm on board. But, we also got to be fair and clear that there are taxes coming out of the church community, even if it's just PAYE. Everything, I guess I was going to say everything they buy, there's GST in it. Maybe a charity can claim back the GST. I'm not sure about that one, actually. But certainly there are some monies coming out of a church in taxes. And, for example, if a church hires a place, so in other words, it's renting off someone, then that someone pays rates and that someone. So there's a couple of, whilst I'm on Luxon's side with this, well, potential side, there are a couple of caveats that it's only fair for us to mention, Chewy.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going.
Perceptions out there that churches have a free ride and aren't doing much good in the community, so why should they not pay taxes or rates? So it'd be good to have the conversation and maybe a little bit more known about what churches actually do out in the community.
Destiny Church leader Brian Tamaki today came out swinging too.
You've got to wonder where his headspace is, because a lot of the
churches wonder where he is.
He's in a very expensive bus. Those are bus mirrors. So he's probably in a $500,000 bus. Would be
Do you
my
think
guess.
Hannah kicked him out? He's not allowed in the house?
Maybe there's no mainstream media allowed inside the Tamaki residence. That's part of it.
A mess that dysfunctional governments leave in society.
Tamaki says his church's social programs are run without government help and have a positive impact.
And when you think about he's going to tax that, or he's going to tax our income, I think that's what he's talking about. I'm going to send him a big bill at the end of every year.
I think he's going to send you a big bill, mate.
What about that good Christian outworking? Only if I get paid. Only if I get paid will we run these events for our community. All comes back to the money. Hey, that's a good Christian outreach, isn't it?
Charging all the costs that we're doing for free.
Christopher Luxon's desire to explore taxes for churches is hot on the heels of a similar call from Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown when it comes to rates. Under the Rating Act, places used for religious worship are exempt. The Mayor says that should change.
Well, everybody that we provide services to, which are pipes and water and roads and footpaths and all rubbish collections and all those things, everybody who uses them should pay for them.
But Tamaki says he effectively does pay rates on Destiny's Auckland headquarters as the property's leased. But if the Mayor gets his way, other churches occupying Auckland's priciest sites may be forced to fork out.
So there's a story, Chewy, and people often say, well, when do you guys ever support? I mean, Luxon wasn't jumping up and down to do it, but he said he'd investigate it, and I tell you what, I would support him on that. We've got something else to talk about with Brian Tamaki, but first, your thoughts around that?
Yeah, look, I think when the tax code was sort of settled and they were looking at churches and that sort of thing, we didn't have the landscape of different factional churches that we do now. And I think that assumption that it's a church, so it must do good work in the community, it was enough back then. But now we don't look at them. And I think if you do open it up and go, well, look, you do have to pay tax on your income, you do have to pay rates to your local council and that sort of thing, that still leaves the door to go, if you can prove what good you're doing in the community, then you can have a tax write-off. It's more visibility into what activity you're actually doing. Like if you want to spin up a set of social housing or a food bank, or something like that, or even if Destiny's programs can be proven to be effective and not just another side hustle, then that would be great as well. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to, you talked about if a church leases its property, the landlord is still paying rates and that sort of thing. In Destiny's case, his headquarters in Auckland is leased.
Yeah.
I don't know the legitimacy of that lease.
I wonder if it's leased from him.
From a church member or something like that.
But
I think if you've got someone like the Tamakis that have such an extravagant life, like they're buying $210,000 vehicles, they've got multiple properties, they're traveling the world, the Harley Davidsons that their circle have and all of that sort of stuff is just remarkable. And it just reeks of a tax-free life.
But maybe that's why. Maybe their pay comes from what would be paid in tax. And if they lost that, things get
exactly.
tighter.
And I don't think some more visibility into what these organisations are doing, and it's still a level playing field, prove what you do for the community. Put a value on it. I don't think that's a bad thing. And yeah, you're right. When I saw that come out and Luxon didn't just immediately write it off, I went, oh, yeah, I don't think I would have expected that. And this is the right thing to say.
Yeah. Although I will take a half step back and go, he hasn't made any commitments. He said he's open to it. We'll see if he actually does anything about it. I just think that it's a bit of a no-brainer. Although I do also think you're talking about when tax codes were set up, there would have been far less of an effective social like a net to catch people in, social welfare state. So churches did do a lot in that area. Churches looked after people, churches fed people, churches housed people. But what's happened is when churches started doing less and less and less of that, that's become more the operation of government. Now, I think there's nothing wrong with a church who is doing something that the government could or should be paying for, to then go to the government. So they're paying their taxes now, and they're going to the government going, well, you need to help fund us this because we're doing your job. I think both of those things are fair. But for a long time, I've always thought these two things. Taxes and churches, and the big one for me is also donations. People donate money and then they get to claim a portion of that back, and then the government pays for it. So that's the way that the government's acknowledging that World Vision or someone is doing their work for them, which is cool. But I just think that you donate to a cause because you want to support the cause, not because you want to get money back from the government in the long run. So I wonder how much, I don't even know, I could probably Google it. I wonder how much of the government's $3 billion going back to landlords could be added in if they stopped giving money back from charitable donations. Just a thought. But listen, there's another story about Brian Tamaki, and we do want to get to it. And the least surprising headline of the weekend, a relative of Brian Tamaki pleads guilty to painting over Auckland Rainbow Crossing. Remember that day when the media went to Brian Tamaki and he went, I don't know who it is, nothing to do with us. 31-year-old man accused of intentionally damaging an Auckland Rainbow pedestrian crossing by painting it white has pleaded guilty. Ford O'Connor appeared in Auckland's district court alongside a full house of supporters, including his grandfather-in-law, Brian Tamaki, of Destiny Church, nearly 3 weeks after the act of vandalism. He pleaded guilty to a charge of intention of damaging the Karangahape Road Rainbow Crossing. Now, I wonder what's happened because the police at one stage started talking about a crime committed by, I know we don't have hate crime, but it was a crime committed for hate or something. O'Connor was convicted and discharged. He's been ordered to pay $16,000. Well, that's why they can't pay taxes at the church, is to pay for this. He's been ordered to pay $16,000 some odd dollars in reparations for the cleanup. Police are still finalising the cost of having the crossing repainted. Now, there is a story here that I haven't actually heard yet, so we're going to do this together, because I actually thought this would probably be covered on News Talk ZB on TV1 or TV3, and I couldn't find anything. Whether it was and they didn't upload it to the website, I don't know. So he went on, I guess, I was going to say friendly station, but is any station really friendly to Brian Tamaki? News Talk ZB, and they talked to him about it. So let's have a bit of a listen all together for the first time, and we'll cut out at some stage and see what he's got to say.
Is he sorry?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes?
Is he sorry?
Who's sorry?
Is Ford O'Connor sorry?
Well, when you have a protest action like that, you're not sorry to actually get the attention of the councils who were listening. And that was that parents did not like drag queens storytelling to their kids in public libraries paid.
Parents. Again, he says he's the moral arbitrator of the country. I'd be interested. We should do that. The research should be done. Do parents not like it, or do a handful of parents who are bigots not like it? Like, where does that actually fall? And it's good that Brian Tamaki is saying, it's fine to break the law, cause damage to public property if it's a protest. Okay, we just need to remember that for the next time he comes out against people protesting who may cause damage to public property. I'm not saying I support that, but I'm saying he supports that. If the council's not listening, then it's okay to do this, and we're proud of him for doing it. That's what he's saying. We've got to remember that for next time, Joey.
By the councils with the ratepayers' money. There you go.
Will he do it again?
So?
Will he do it again? Will he protest again like
listen,
this?
Brian.
Well, he probably won't, would he? Because he's now got a conviction, which is interesting considering the Te Papa debacle, and they haven't even been brought to court, and that was more severe.
I think that's a matter of process, isn't it, Brian? Because those guys have pleaded not guilty, whereas Ford has pleaded guilty.
They're not guilty. Didn't we all see it? The police watched it happen.
Yeah, but that's how court works, right?
Anyway, let's get back to this. I don't think the public really like drag queens teaching.
Let's get back to this, because the point you're making here is not helping my argument. So let's just get back to this.
He should know how grandchildren or great-grandchildren in my case. And neither is the relationships and sexuality education bill being removed like Winston and this new coalition promised. And so these are the things that bother us as parents. We don't like that. We don't like this being pushed on us and forced on us. They are free to do what they want.
Pushing it on you, you idiot.
Weren't you aware, Chewy? The drag queens are turning up and holding it outside Brian Tamaki's house. It's being forced on them. You're going to do it right outside the house. Then. No. You can't pull his curtains because he's got $1 million view. He has to keep his eye on all the time as well. But he's the victim here. Brian Tamaki is the victim here. He's the one that's going down. So this is like a revolution for the victims.
We want to behave, but when it's forced on us in every sphere of society we look, we are rainbow washed.
Every sphere.
And we've just had enough. That's all.
Brian, it sounds to me like you're okay with what Ford O'Connor's done.
No, I said to him when we finished in Gisborne, and we were right there and owned up to that, that's about it, no more. And so I was surprised the next day, and I found out, like everybody else, that someone had done K Road. And then, of course, as the day progressed, I found out who it was.
Oh, fuck off.
Oh,
he was the driver. It was his car, as if you didn't know immediately. I call bullshit. My honest held belief, because he's litigious, is I call bullshit on that.
So when I was asked earlier on, I didn't know who did it.
Did you tell him off?
I was upset because he's the father of my great-grandchildren.
Yeah, I was upset because of how it was going to make an awkward position for me.
And I did not want him. He's got a clean slate. He's not that sort of boy. He's got his own business.
And it's a bad...
Well, yes, he is. He did it. He's not that sort of... So he didn't do it. If you're not that sort of boy, you don't do it. He is that sort of boy because he did it.
Example for kids, isn't it?
Well, yeah. It's not good when you have to go to that extreme level of getting attention of the people you trust to listen to the public, and they're not listening.
Can he afford to pay the fine?
Well, you know what? We barely got out of the court, and somebody sent $5,000 as a friend, and some other people now are hopping up and saying, hey, we'll pay for this. This is rubbish. They don't like it. This is not right that you should be paying that amount.
Brian, do you intend to tell your followers at Destiny Church to cut this out and stop doing it?
Why? Why would we cut it out if they don't cut out all of this nonsense?
No, I take your point. You're still upset about something that's continuing to happen, but do you intend to tell your people to stop doing this, or do you expect that more of this is going to happen?
Well, I don't know, really. I can't say. I mean, I can't tell people. I can just encourage them to say, well, this is what's wrong in society. This is something that we need to stand up to and be a voice for the silent supporters.
I mean, this is
so
partly your
silent.
fault, though, because
Yeah, the silent supporters who are right now getting a 5-minute plug on New Zealand's largest radio station. If only these guys had an outlet, Chewy. If only they could get their message across there.
you guys did it in Gisborne. Right now, everybody's doing what you did.
You know what? I reckon that if people now see that somebody is finally standing up to a certain minority group where everybody else is afraid, I think we're doing a good thing for our children's future and for parents.
Brian, thank you.
All right. There you go, Chewy. So
That
kind of
man is
both sides of the
delusional.
conversation. We're proud of what he did. I tell him not to do it. He won't do it again. He's messed up his future. He's now got a record. Will you tell your church not to do it? No, why would I do that? It's like, well, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, as my mum used to say.
He said he didn't know who he did it, even though it was clearly a copycat attack, and he had no idea who could do it, and all he had to do was fucking ask across the dinner table.
Well, look at the car.
Look at the person that's married to his granddaughter. Oh, why have you got white paint all over your hands? Can I just say this is potentially a pretty mean tangent, but here we go. Ford O'Connor. I left high school at the age of 15 to pursue a career in painting. Oh no, he's fixed the spelling. When I checked earlier today, that this was full of spelling errors, which is disappointing. That's what I was really hoping to highlight. That this guy obviously isn't the shiniest penny in the pot. But yeah, like Tamaki's was always delusional when he said, "Oh, it's got nothing to do with me." Well, I was just waiting for it to come out.
Yeah, of course.
Police were always going to catch this guy.
We said it in the show.
Yeah,
what are the odds you'll give on it being associated with Destiny? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, associated with Destiny. Someone in his flock, not someone in his family.
Yeah.
And I love that this whole thing is like, oh yeah, well, people that don't feel that they're being listened to are just going to lash out, and drag queens are just everywhere. And I was like, fuck, man, you don't need to. If you don't agree with it, then don't go. But I think it's crazy that someone that has his eyebrows painted on to that degree doesn't like drag queens. It's just putting it off. His whole thing is that it's about the children. We're protecting the children. It's not bigotry at all. It's all about children's protection. The other day, Hannah Tamaki posted a picture of them driving one of their cars on 90 Mile Beach with 5 unrestrained children in the back seat. So it's bullshit.
Yeah, but
these guys
hang on. There was
built an empire of bullshit.
But let me assume there was no drag queens in the car when they were driving unrestrained, were there?
We couldn't see the driver.
Okay, maybe there was.
So
maybe there was.
Who knows? But look, I look. If Destiny gets taxed, and now Tamaki has to go out and make an honest buck,
He won't pay.
Make good money.
It's not him.
You do a few hens parties.
This is the thing
sort of
is,
thing.
If that does happen, it's not him that'll see a cut. It's other areas within his organisation. They won't get any of it.
This government's coming for him in every way, right? They're going to tax him. They're taking his gang off him. He can't wear his tough man gang patches anymore. All of these, like I agree with one of the policies of taxing the church. Didn't agree with the gang patch. But look, if there's a crackdown on Destiny Church's little pocket motorcycle gang, then maybe that's how you win me over.